All right. I don't know how to entertain everyone. I'm not very good at this, but I wanted to say while Scott's getting whatever he's getting, I am super stoked to have Scott on here. So it'll be a little bit shorter today. I think we're going to aim for another 36 minutes. We both have a hard stop at the end of the hour here. But hi, I'm Nick Cosentino, and I'm a principal software engineering manager at Microsoft. This is arguably the coolest thing I've been able to do in my content creation journey, so this is one of the most exciting things I've been able to put together. It's a pretty brief interview with Scott Hanselman, but it was so awesome to be able to sit down with him and just talk about his career progression, and I really loved the message that he was able to deliver in this conversation. I remember once I confirmed the interview with Scott, I ran over to my wife and I was trying to explain just how excited I was and why Scott was such an influential person, and I really didn't know how to compare him to something that she might understand, so Beyonce was basically the only thing that I could come up with. Now, I still don't think she really understood, but I think for a lot of you watching this, you know who Scott is, you understand how cool this is, and I really think that you're going to enjoy this conversation. It's not super technical, we get into some technical pieces, but I do think that the message that Scott is going to share in this interview is so powerful, and I can't wait for you to hear it. So sit back, enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Awesome. So Scott, thanks so much for joining. The one of the things I wanted to start off with, because I kind of love jumping into this with different people, is like career journeys, right? Obviously, you have a very extensive career. I probably don't have enough time to hear all of the details, obviously, but I think for folks that are listening and watching, it would be super cool to kind of hear like, where did you start? Like, how did you know that you wanted to get into this? Did you know from the beginning? And then, like, what did that look like as you progressed all the way to where you are now?
Um, as I'm realizing how long I've been doing this, I realize that, everyone, people talk about like generations and stuff, but it's less
Sure.
about generations and it's more like what was happening in tech when you popped in.
Right.
Like there are people who are like amazing front end engineers, and you could ask yourself why they are. Is it a generational thing? And it's like, no, it's because JavaScript popped as they entered. So I think of myself as being someone who thinks about the whole stack
Okay.
because the stack was smaller when I started, right? So in like 1982, 1984, when I started like programming, it was low level. It was assembler. It was 6502 assembler. And then, we understood assembler and then basic and logo and things got layered on top of it. So if you hear me now 30 plus years later in 2024 talking about the benefits of understanding the full stack, it is because of the privilege of where I started. It may not necessarily be great advice for the young people because
Sure.
maybe JavaScript is the assembler for them. I don't know. That said, mid 80s, I got a hold of an Apple II, and then I got a hold of a TRS 80, and I got a hold of a Commodore 64, and that's kind of where I started. And I've still got some. I can grab a Commodore over here, and
Oh, awesome.
I actually just built a. I don't know if you could see it. This
Oh,
is
yeah,
a
yeah.
PDP 11 emulator over here. So it's called a PyDP.
Okay.
So it's a Raspberry Pi running PDP 11, and it's got the blinking lights and everything. And I
Awesome. Yeah, yeah.
3D printed a case around and everything. Um, Okay. But like my parents are not computer people. My
Okay.
dad is a firefighter. My mom is a zookeeper. So we're the first, my son and my brother and I are the first ones to go to school. So I don't know, like my fifth grade teacher was like, you got moxie, kid. And put me in front of this apple. And then I've told this story on other shows before. So if people have heard it before, I apologize. But my dad had this van. This is a 1972 Ford Econoline, and it was in the front of the house, and it was always parked there. And then one day I showed up, and the van was gone, and there was a Commodore from Sears in a box with the Sears. You said you're Canadian, so
Yep. Yep.
did you have Sears up in
We
Canada?
did. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, here, hang on a second. Entertain the crowd. Hang on a second.
All right. I don't know how to entertain everyone. I'm not very good at this, but I wanted to say while Scott's getting whatever he's getting, I am super stoked to have Scott on here. So it'll be a little bit shorter today. I think we're going to aim for another 36 minutes. We both have a hard stop at the end of the hour here, but we'll get into some .NET stuff too. And there's Scott. Oh, wow.
So you think about this van that's in your front yard for all these years of your life. Like it's the thing. And then the front of the house is empty, and you're like, what is wrong with this house? The scene
Right.
looks wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
And then replacing the van is this. And with the iconic tape, this is the Sears tape. They would put tape around the box to make sure that it hadn't been opened.
Right. That's how you know.
That's how
Yeah.
you know that you're not stealing it, right? So this Commodore was there, and they were like, well, your teacher said that you would be good at this.
Wow.
Right. So they bought this because they thought I would be good at it. That's kind
Interesting.
of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, like
Right.
in a hindsight, right? It's pretty
Yeah.
fascinating.
So to have that access and that privilege so early on with the Epix fast load cartridge. Now, we're a couple of, or maybe we're one old guy and one younger guy on a call here, looking at this kind of stuff, but like that underscores the importance of access.
Yeah.
There are people even now, I work with an engineer, a young engineer, who only started coding 3 years ago. Right. So you'll meet people my age who'll be like, I've been coding for 45 years. And you're like, since I was in the womb,
Yeah.
I've been coding professionally for 32 years. I don't count the 10 years from like age 10 to age 20.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, that's such a privilege that my parents made that decision to sell the van.
Yeah, that's a very incredible, like I said, in hindsight, it's fascinating to think like, what if that didn't happen? What if you didn't have that opportunity put in front of you? So I don't even like
Bingo.
thinking about that. That's
So
kind of scary.
That's important. Like we're in this time of like the MCU and multiple universes and stuff like that. This is really before the MCU. There was this really great movie with Gwyneth Paltrow called Sliding Doors.
I've not seen
And
that. Okay.
So she's running to catch her train. She runs down the stairs, and there's a little girl who's coming up the other side with her hand on the railing, and she kind of does a little juke and goes around the little girl, and then the movie stops. A line like this line here drops in the middle of the screen, and it splits in half. And now there's two universes, one where she jukes around the little girl and bumps into her, and one where she smoothly moves past the little girl. One Gwyneth Paltrow gets on the train, one doesn't. And then the movie spends the rest of the movie in two halves.
Wow.
What happened when she didn't hit the train, and what happened when she did?
Just from one little event, right?
From one little event where she's jumping down the stairs, she's rushing for the train, and she goes, oh, and she does it smoothly on one person, does it not smoothly. And then the next 5-10 years of her life is completely defined by what if I'd gotten on that train. Right. So like that might sound a little overly dramatic, but like it cannot be overstated that we are the product of those little moments, and that I think of that as being luck. And I've talked about this before as well, but luck is opportunity plus being prepared.
Okay.
And you have to have both sides. There are a lot of people out there who are prepared and ready for this thing to happen, but then the opportunity never presents itself.
Sure.
And then there are lots of people who just get opportunities thrown at them, but then they're not doing the work, and they're not prepared. So then how do I, now that I have luck that has happened, make luck for other people?
I love that. Yeah,
Right,
it's,
so
it's like a Venn diagram of having these opportunities overlap, right?
So luck can be, I can go and like refer someone for a job.
Sure.
I can't get them the job. I can't get them the interview, but I can put them in the machine, and I can say, okay, I did a referral. So I'm very generous and very like, hey, absolutely, I will refer people. If you're cool and your GitHub repository is great and your LinkedIn is awesome, I will refer you. So that just adds up over time. You just in making luck. That's why I'm a big fan of like focusing less on mentorship, because a lot of people are over mentored, because that's just a weekly lecture with an old person, and sponsorship, which is, oh, Nick, why don't you give the talk?
Okay.
What? I wasn't ready. You're ready. Opportunity presents itself. You're ready. Luck. And then 10 years from now, you're a CEO of a company. Oh yeah, that one time when I got to present to Satya, that's when it all happened. That's your sliding doors moment, right? So the trick is to make as many of those as possible, because somewhere there's a Hanselman in another parallel universe that didn't get seen by their 5th grade teacher, that didn't get a Commodore 64, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that's a fascinating thing to think about. Like maybe one could argue like, okay, if you didn't have that opportunity so early, just based on how you are, like maybe something else would have come up a little bit later, like certainly it would have worked out this way,
Yep.
right? But like
Yeah.
I don't know if I buy that personally.
Well, so here's another one. Like, and I can go back and like identify these things now with hindsight, because hindsight's 2020. Is that I again first wanted to go to college, so I didn't know how to apply to college. I didn't know how to visit. We didn't have money to visit universities, but I did have a girlfriend who went to Boston, so I followed her to Boston and I visited MIT and Boston University and walked around the Harvard campus and try to get a vibe of like what college would feel like. And it wasn't for me. It just felt weird. I kind of had a low key panic attack on the MIT campus. I was just like, I'm not ready for this.
Okay.
So I came home and I moved into my parents' garage and had no plan at all. And then my buddy Jack Elmore, and Jack Elmore still works. He works at Microsoft, but he was 17 at the time. He's like, "Hey, come over to my house, and I'm going to teach you pointers in C." So I go over to his house, and we start talking about pointers in C, and I'm comparing it to like some of the other coding that I'd done before. Because he's all about C. C's the next big thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Now C had already been a thing for a while now, right? But he was very excited about C. So he starts teaching me C and then juxtaposing how C is different than C++. And he's like, hey, Portland Community College is doing a software engineering course. It's the first year because computer science was the department at the community college.
Okay.
But they were having a feud with the software engineering department. And they believed that computer science was too vague, too wide open for getting a job.
Okay.
So this was more of a practical, what's the word? A trade school perspective on software. Like we could teach you computer science, but it doesn't teach you how to deliver software.
Yeah, here's all the theory behind like how these things work in computer science, and then you get more practical. Let's go build something. I assume that's kind of the okay.
So he's like, yeah, they're doing an open house. Come with me. So I freaking go with him and I enroll in software engineering out of my parents' garage at Portland Community College. And then the greatest thing about that program was that it had a required internship. You had to go and become an intern. So you had to go and find a local company and get them to hire you as an intern. Then they hired me at $10 an hour and then $12 an hour. And there you go. And if Jack Elmore hadn't said, come and hang out and let's talk about pointers, right? Because that's the kind of nerd I was.
I was going to make a comment about that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And if Portland Community College hadn't been doing a software engineering degree because computer science wasn't the vibe,
right?
Then what would I be doing? Something else. My dad's a firefighter. My brother's a firefighter. I'd probably be a firefighter, which is great, but it's different.
Yeah, and that's just it, right? It's not about being better, worse, or whatever. It's just like it would be
It's about finding your thing or not. Yeah. I think this is my thing. So then now I don't think my thing's computers. Here's the funny thing.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm a teacher.
Okay.
I just really dig telling people about stuff and getting people the feeling of being empowered and like, oh yeah, have you heard the news? You can do this.
Right.
So yeah. Oh, and then I don't know if I think I told someone this one time. I don't know if I said this a lot publicly, but when I got promoted last year, so now I've got this title VP, which is such a weird thing. It's a funny little compliment that capitalism pays you. Hey, good job with the stock.
And congratulations, by the way. It's an accomplishment for sure.
Thank you. Titles are made up though, but thank you. But it's kind of a nice little period at the end of the sentence. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. I started calling all the different people that had been those sliding doors for me. So I called Jack Elmore and I was like, dude, I just got VP and here's why it's important that you did this for me 30 years ago. And I called my first boss who gave me the internship, who's like 80 years old now. And I called Taylor Hanna, who was the head of the Portland Community College Software Engineering Group, who's in a retirement home on the East Coast. And I went through this list of like, I called Don Box, who I met at Incredible Universe / Fry's Electronics, who like gave me my first interview. And we wrote C on a napkin at a Sherry's pie shop while having peach pie. Like that, like just called all these people to just say, hey, you were one of the people where there was a moment there and I could have hung left and I went this direction instead.
Right. That's incredible. That's and I can't even imagine for some of those people getting a call like that and being like, what that would feel like to be like, holy crap, like, that might have seemed like such a small thing at the time, right? But like you said, creating these opportunities for individuals over time is just
Oh yeah.
it's
And that has now that I'm getting older, that has started to happen occasionally to me, which is super cool. I I had given I had like sponsored some young people on Twitter. Like there was a person who needed a laptop, so I got him a laptop, and there's somebody who needed some paperwork done for immigration, and I did some immigration paperwork. And then you don't follow them around. You're not keeping score.
right.
You help people and you move on. And then I get a text like, 4 years later, hey, I've immigrated to Germany and I'm in Germany now and I'm working as a full-time engineer and I'm sending money back home. So then I just happened to be in Berlin a week before last, and I get to go and have like lunch with these guys.
Wow.
Right. And there's another guy who just got his immigration paper and he moved to London, again, moving out of his country, helping his family out. And, and I did one thing 4 years ago, but I just knew that like that's a kid that is going to be awesome. And I want to put, I want to spawn, and I know put like, if you could buy stock in a person and like do an early investor, like you're going to be
Yeah.
like an angel investor.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to do that kind of stuff. And it's a long process,
Sure.
but like 4 years later, you're like, hey, and then you become that little one moment where, hey, I gave you a Commodore 64 in
Well,
1980.
well, what could feel like, honestly, like what's more fulfilling than that, to be like, being able to have people in the future tell you like, hey, you changed the course of my life for the better.
Mhm.
And then hopefully for a lot of these people, you kind of impart on them, like, you see how powerful, like, something that might have been small for you in the moment, like, see how
Mhm.
powerful that was to transform someone's
Yep.
life. Like, that's fascinating.
Well, and that's the thing, like, it is a amazing thing to be a teacher, but it is also a selfish thing. Like, if you want, like, pure, unadulterated, like, mainline, give me more of that," be a teacher, and then, like, my aunt was a teacher, a Portland public school teacher for many, many years, and she said she'd be just wandering around at Safeway, and then some full-grown adult would come up and say, "Oh my god, Mrs. Hanselman, you know, 20 years ago, you were my teacher," and like that's where like, yeah, give me more of that, right? So being a teacher is a wonderfully magnanimous, but also very selfish thing, and that's a kind of selfishness that I'm willing to accept.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably a pretty fair trade, right? Like, I don't think we like to promote selfishness too much, but I think
Oh,
if
it's
you're going
the
to be
good kind of
selfish,
selfishness, right? It's
yeah.
like yeah.
No, that's incredible. Well, thanks for sharing that. I think the really kind of walking through those different, like, and I'm sure for people listening and watching, it's like they might have already had some of these types of things, or there's going to be these moments of luck that come up for them kind of in the future, right? So that's really cool. I
Yeah,
think
well, you can spot them now, right? And
yeah.
then jump on them and make them happen for other people.
Yeah, it's no, it's really cool. I haven't had for myself. I don't feel like I've yet had too many situations where I've done something for someone else. There's been a couple of little things like being able to, send off free books to people and stuff. Well, free for them, I'll pay for the Amazon part, whatever. It's like small things like that. But I have not yet kind of had that the sort of the feedback loop. And I don't like, for me, I'm not like, hey, I'm doing that so that I can get it. But
Mhm.
it might be really really awesome in a few years where it's like, hey, little things that you were doing, planting those seeds kind of come back.
Well,
So
it could be it could be having a maybe an earlier in career person on your show. I've been doing this Hanselman and Friends
okay.
idea a lot because I am very blessed to be invited to like keynote stuff. So now I bring people along. So then
Oh,
it's like
awesome.
Hanselman and then whoever else the person is. And then what you do is you slowly reverse it. So it's not Hanselman and Friends, it's this person and then also the Hanselman guy is still there. Right.
Very cool.
And then like on my podcast, my face is not on the podcast anymore. Right. So it's all about the guest. My face is nowhere to be found. So like those little tiny changes as you slowly shift focus
Right.
is to try to put a spotlight on the next generation, the next person. Because I'm
Yeah, and
fine.
that's incredible, right? Because you've and I don't want to say like, oh, like it was just luck, right? But you've done all of this work through your career, through a series of events, and now you're in this position where you can be able to do that for others, and that's
Well,
so
so you
awesome.
say like just luck. Like people seem to think that luck is a dirty word, and it's totally not. It is
Okay.
okay to ascribe a huge part of uh, your career to luck. That's fine. It doesn't negate the hard work.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? And thank you
Two
for
things can be
stating
true.
that. It's yeah, I think there can be luck, and when I say that, I don't want to suggest that there was no hard work, because I think that would be very incorrect to say, yeah, you didn't do anything. It was just luck.
Yeah. Well, this is just when we're talking about luck, that's the focus. We're talking about luck, right? It's like what was there's an old joke of like if someone is doing a if you're doing a charity dinner for like cancer, you don't have someone rush in and say, "Well, hang on, all diseases matter." Like, no, we're talking about cancer right now,
Right.
right? So it doesn't negate other things. Huge swaths of my career are luck. Also, maybe equally large amounts are hard work,
Sure.
but you can't unpack that. Well, when you do unpack that, you get this pie chart that is an ever moving pie chart. And again, luck is so important. Is opportunity presents itself,
Hmm.
and then preparation. Right? You can't just like I could say, "Hey Nick, Nick, give this keynote opportunity."
Right.
But then you totally sleep through it. You don't prep. Your computer crashes. You're not prepared. Oh, the demo gods. Okay, you
Yeah.
just fumbled the bag, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So was that lucky? Was that not lucky? Like no, luck didn't happen because opportunity presented itself, but you didn't prepare.
Yeah.
But
And in
then
fact,
you prepare, you grind, and then no one ever invites you to give a talk. Also unlucky.
yeah, in the situation where you like describe fumbling the bag, right? It's like people would say that's unlucky, right? Probably, like, even though
Yeah,
you
that's
had
fair.
the
You got to
first part of
prepare.
it,
Got to do
you
the work.
fumbled the bag and now it's unlucky. But
Right. So my theory is that there are a ton of prepared people just waiting for opportunities. And that's where you invent luck is by just make luck for people by
yeah,
adding that one piece of the formula that is missing. And that's why and that's what it's called sponsorship. Sponsorship is talking about your mentee when your mentee is not in the room,
mm,
right? Mentorship usually and this is an overgeneralization.
sure,
I call it a weekly lecture from an old person.
right,
This is how I used to mentor. I would bring this big dad energy to talk to young people, and it changes a power dynamic. So instead of two peers talking to each other, it started to go, and it's just like, you should work harder. Okay, read
right,
this book. Okay, study hard. That's not the energy that most people need. What they need is not mentorship. They need planning, strategizing, specific tactical things that they can do to make luck. I don't think I'm getting enough visibility. I don't think my work is being seen correctly. Like those kind of things, and that's
right,
where a focused sponsorship is. So, like, if I give a present, if we're doing like a team presentation to a VP, I could give the whole presentation. It'll
sure,
be fine, but I got this great team. What I should do is be like, Hugh Jackman in The Greatest Showman, where I'll just be the opener and I'll go, all right, I'm going to pass it off
right,
to so and so. And then she'll do it. And then this person will do it. So then it's all about the visibility of the team. You don't want to be going like, oh, look at me and the hard work that 30 people did.
yep,
Uh, then I'll take credit for it.
yeah.
That's dumb.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity for individuals, and I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's basically impossible that one person could be doing all of the things, so it doesn't
That's the
look too
whole
great.
point of the
Yeah,
team.
yeah.
That's the whole point. Exactly. Yeah.
No, that's super cool. Scott, I know we have a little bit of time left because we both have hard stops. I'm curious. I asked you a little bit before about .NET stuff. I don't want to put you on the spot for like, hey, like tell us the latest and greatest everything .NET. We need to know all the exact features coming in .NET 9, nothing like that. But maybe like to kind of kick things off in the .NET space, just some general thoughts and kind of questions around this. Like, I feel like, and you're probably way more in tune with this, but I feel like personally, .NET and C# have been picking up a lot over the past few years. Um, is that the same type of thing that you're observing, or do you feel like it's always kind of been like at this level, or is it kind of like taking off?
I feel like .NET 8 is just such a good release. It's such a lovely, solid release that it's getting people's attention.
Hmm.
I still think there's a branding problem. I think that there's C#, there's F#, to a limited extent, there's Visual Basic, but .NET as a brand is a weird brand.
Right.
Young people know about C#. And then you have to go and explain versioning and all the numbers and stuff like that. But we've had now .NET Core 3, we've had .NET 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9 coming out. So we've had, consistently every November a new version coming out. And just like Ubuntu, you alternate between LTS and STS, standard
Mhm.
support and long-term support. So now that we've got these 3-year-long support versions of .NET, and upgrading from one to the other is like not rocket surgery. I'm actually in the middle on this monitor over here of switching my website from .NET 6 to .NET 8. And it's not that bad, and only good things happen. It only gets faster. The word is out, and it's been cross-platform now for freaking ever,
Yeah.
like a generation.
Yeah.
And still we're trying to remind people that it does work
Well, I
cross-platform, which
wanted
is
to
so
ask you
funny.
about that part. And first, before I jump to that, thank you for saying rocket surgery because I say that all the time.
Oh
And
yeah,
I don't know if I've ever talked to someone else and they've dropped that. Every time I say it and my wife hears
I
it,
think it's hilarious.
she looks at me funny and I'm like, no, that was on purpose. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah. Well, it's like when you list out bullets and stuff, and you go, okay, Nick, here's what's going on. So first, one, you need to do better, and then B, like doing weird little anachronistic things like that.
yeah.
Make sure that people are still listening.
No, on the on the side of like reminding people about cross-platform and this type of thing, I feel like I observe it a lot, but still a stigma around like about .NET and like, hey, like Microsoft, it's a Microsoft thing. Microsoft is big, bad, and scary, and closed source, and Microsoft's going to own all your code, and it's only on Windows. And I'm like, I don't know where
Yeah, I
these
don't
people are
know.
coming from, but do you still observe this kind of thing like a
Yeah,
lot?
it's just education. It sucks. It is what it is. Um,
But yeah, we
I,
have to
I,
just
I'm
keep
just.
reminding.
Here's the thing, though. What's the biggest language on the planet, right? Well, there's two. There's C, which you don't see. No pun intended. That's the little language that could. Like all the low level stuff is happening, all the IoT stuff is happening. Like your thermostat is not written in JavaScript. And then there's JavaScript. So the argument of like, well, how is .NET gonna win? Well, it can't. JavaScript's won, but what is it won? Well, it's won the text boxes over data war. So, that's fine. But C sharp though is just so darned flexible.
Yeah,
You've got IoT devices all the way up to cloud devices. You've got Xbox games and Unity. You could got Linux and ARM. It is the Swiss Army knife of platforms.
right.
And I think people sleep on it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I had someone ask me the other day about like they were asking about programming language strengths, like why C sharp, and I think the context before that was about like a lot of people are talking about Rust and stuff now, and they were like, well, it's not as fast as Rust, is it? And I'm like, well, hold on, like you have languages where they're going to be more purpose built for certain things, but I said I think my opinion is C sharp. One of the benefits is really just that it can do so much. And if you know C sharp, you can start applying it to these very different domains and not have to go, let me go completely like I could imagine switching between Rust and JavaScript would be like my brain would probably melt if I had to keep context switching between the two. So
Yeah, and then benchmarking those things, it's apples and oranges. Like you just
yeah,
can't like here's one. This is stupid. I just throw this up on the screen here.
sure. Let
Here's just
me.
like a Rust versus C sharp benchmark. What is a benchmark? Like, are we doing just tight, for loops? Are we doing Fibonacci? Here's Rust and C sharp, within 20-30% of each other, but then you've got standard deviations of stuff that are outside. Because you've got the jitter, of course. You've got
Yeah,
more memory, of course. But like, is it appropriate to compare these things? We've also got AOT really making a move in the C sharp space, ahead of time compilation. As a general rule for generalized computing, all these languages are asymptotically approaching perfect. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're hitting the laws of physics on a lot of these things.
yeah.
So yeah, you're gonna have more. Here you go. Like the system time is higher, but as a general rule, we're doing very well. We're holding our own. I'm not saying it's a fight though. It's not supposed to be a fight.
I think that's a good point, though, right? I think a lot of people they frame it like, "Hey, look, we have to
Yeah.
put these things against each other and battle to the death," and it's like, but it's just not like that. I'll give you a very quick example. If someone said to me, "Hey, Nick, I need you to go spin up a web server, and you could go between Rust and C sharp. Obviously, I have more experience in C sharp than Rust, but I could imagine for the average person, like you could literally just press a button in Visual Studio and have a very quick web server done. And I don't know if you have so much flexibility in Rust without trying to do a lot more primitive things. And it's not that those primitive things would be wrong or
Yeah.
worse. In fact, they might be way faster, but it's just different.
It's like having a fight between, do you buy a Honda or do you buy a Toyota? You're gonna
Yeah.
get where you're going. I'm not like, I just don't understand why everyone is so obsessed with this. People like Rust is great, and everyone seems like really excited to make Rust the new thing. Fine. But what should it be the new thing? Are we trying to make video games in Rust? Like, really, what people are looking at Rust at is, making kernels better.
But before we move on, this is just a reminder that I do have courses available on Dome Train if you want to level up in your C# programming. If you head over to Dome Train, you can see that I have a course bundle that has my Getting Started and Deep Dive courses on C#. Between the two of these, that's 11 hours of programming in the C# language, taking you from absolutely no programming experience to being able to build basic applications. You'll learn everything about variables, loops, a bit of async programming, and object-oriented programming as well. Make sure to check it out.
Like you're already seeing Rust showing up in the Windows kernel. Like, it is a better C. Is it a better C#? That's a different question. Like, just we don't have to go and take over all the curly brace related languages and say that like thou shalt do Rust.
Right.
Like, it's okay for Rust to be good at one thing. I'm not writing kernel level code in C# yet, so use Rust for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
My website's going to be written in C#. I like it. It's very fast and very productive.
Yeah, and it's like I think the context is key, right? Like a quick example, even from, I mentioned before we got on the call, like I work in the substrate side of Microsoft, and I manage part of the team that's the routing plane. We have pieces where we have consciously said we will rewrite these things in Rust because there's a very specific need. Lots of other stuff is in C#, and there is absolutely no reason for us to go move because it works very fast. It does exactly what we need. We can develop, quickly in it. So like, why would we just go, hey, like Rust is just new and the new hotness, let's just go jump ship to it? Like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I think also that like it's always fun to explore like generational shifts.
Sure.
People don't really, people think that they don't get promoted for sustaining engineering. They get promoted for like big dangerous moves. Like, let's move all of it to Rust. Okay. I mean, it is fine. It's fine right now. No, we got to do it all. Like,
Yeah.
I have a much more chill attitude than when I was an architecture astronaut back in the
Or
early 90s.
astronaut, yeah. But this similar conversation came up even with Blazor. So I was having a discussion with someone online, and they were saying from their perspective, they're like, Blazor is just like, it's a terrible idea. They're like, it's never going to beat out JavaScript. And like, I don't want I think the phrasing was, I don't want to be forced into using C#. And there were a few of us that were like, hey, look, like as C# developers, like we want the opportunity to write more C#. I don't think anyone's forcing you. Like, I don't think that's the goal. Is Microsoft came in and said, no more JavaScript.
This is a silly analogy that I have used once that I like. So my son and I were in Finland, and Finnish is a really weird language. And linguistically, because I did a little bit of work in linguistics in college, it's like a foreign language. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit. It's almost like they were teleported here from Mars. Like it doesn't fit into the branch of the language.
Okay, yeah.
So and there's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 million people that speak Finnish. So my son, who's like 13 at the time, he's like, why don't they just speak English? I was like, what do you mean? Well, like everyone likes their own language. People got to speak their own language. And he's like, well, they're not going to win.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Well, here's the thing. They're not, right? We love the Finns. Finns are great people, but they're not winning. Well, winning what? Okay, well, that's exactly right. Like first, there was no competition. Then no one said there had to be a win. Well, everyone should just speak English. Well, why? Well, English is the JavaScript of human language.
Yeah.
Right? It's just the one that steals from all the other languages. It became the language that we're just forcing everyone to use. It's not the language we deserve, but it's the one that we have. It was invented in a weekend. It doesn't make any sense. So the why doesn't Finnish give up?
Right.
Okay. Why doesn't Erlang give up?
Right.
right? Well, because people who speak Erlang and Finnish like it.
Yeah.
And there's Finnish poetry and cinema, and like those are the things that make them happy. They should be happy. Like that's just so stupid. I'm more of a language preservationist. When I hear that there's like an indigenous language and there's like 6 people who speak it, let's go save that language and let's learn it
Yeah.
so that we might better understand ourselves. But the argument of like, oh, this language should give up because it's not going to win is stupid.
Yeah, because like you said, like what is the competition? It sounds like there isn't one and people just
Yeah.
assume it's there.
If there's a language that makes you happy, write that language,
Yeah.
right? These are tough questions. Like if I was the CTO of a company, would I go and write it in Erlang? I wouldn't,
Yeah.
but the people who made WhatsApp did, and success is a pretty good metric. So
Yep.
good on WhatsApp for choosing Erlang.
Yeah, I remember before Microsoft, I worked at a digital forensics company, and when we were recovering things off of devices, like so, literally having to recover deleted information from file systems and stuff. I remember talking with people at job fairs and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, so you guys must use a lot of C and C++," and I was like, "We use .NET for everything," and they're like,
Yeah.
"How? Like that's impossible. You can't possibly be getting that low level stuff," and it's like, no, and we can build really fast, and we can do all these awesome things. So I think people just yeah, kind of looking for maybe competitions where there aren't actually
Yeah.
these battles.
Yeah. Now Facebook went and rewrote the thing in C++, but that was that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. So on the .NET side of things, do you have like a are there a set of things where you're like super excited about and you're like, I can't wait for this? Or are you just kind of at this point? I think you kind of said like a
Oh,
lot of the languages are approaching this point where it's everything almost feels like perfect.
well, okay, so there's the language stuff, which is all the syntax and keywords and nonsense and
Sure.
features. Everyone's got async and await, and everyone's been fighting about who invented async and await, and like C sharp takes this feature from F sharp, and there's that all happens. That's there's Americans that think burrito is an English word, uh, right? We can all argue about if it's pronounced foyer or foyer.
Yeah.
Uh, that happens in programming languages as well. I'm more interested in like delightful features that like make my life better. So
Sure.
the work that is happening in .NET to make it work well on Docker and in containers is just like it's just unheralded, silent, pushing the rock uphill work. Like
Yeah.
if you go and look at our Docker tags, the diversity of options for your base image,
Mhm.
we've got chiseled images, we've got images that are getting smaller and smaller, we've got distroless images. We've got the fact that you can write C sharp, you didn't have to do anything, and then all those ARM PCs came out, and it just works on ARM,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm running a 22-year-old code base on my blog. And I didn't have to do anything as .NET matured.
Right.
I slowly moved it from .NET 2 to 4 to 6 and now on the way to 8. And I've quietly and peacefully moved it from Windows Server 2000 to Linux to containers. And now it runs on a Raspberry Pi, right? Like my
That's
podcast
awesome.
website runs happily on a Raspberry Pi. And I'm just pushing a little bit of text around or changing a Docker container thing like that. That's really significant, and it is. I use the word unheralded. Like people should be singing that, and the hard work that the .NET team and the folks that work on that stuff are doing should be more appreciated.
Yeah. It's a yeah, I think it's a good point. There's a lot of work that goes into that kind of stuff, and it's almost like until it's all there and we're just used to having it, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, and
it
you take it for granted.
yeah, it must have just happened overnight or it was always there, right? No, that's cool. I realize we're coming up on time here and you have a hard stop. So I did want to say like thank you so much for being able to kind of sit down and chat with me. This is super cool. I think one of the really key takeaways, just this reminder that trying to create these little opportunities for other people, like creating luck for others. I think that's something that like I almost feel like I need a tattoo or something of that to just like as a permanent reminder that like yeah, we only got so much
Yeah,
time, and if we can start doing that for others, there's a lot of
I
opportunity
appreciate
there.
that. I don't. It didn't become like it didn't go viral or anything, but I used to use this hashtag "be the luck." Like if you go about your day deciding that I'm going to be someone's luck today,
Right.
whether it be giving them a tip, whether it be a financial tip or an actual like advice,
Sure.
or sitting down and talking to someone, putting in your email signature that you're open for mentorship and you're open for sponsorship, or whether it's just quietly giving an opportunity to someone else because you have enough opportunities,
Right. Yeah, that's incredible.
are small things.
Yeah, I love that.
Or,
Well,
and by the way, it's totally random, but like while we're talking, like bring up the screen here.
oh, nice. Okay.
So I'm just running. So here I decided to go and I'm running. This is building the podcast inside of Docker on .NET, and then I'm running headless unit tests and playwright tests. And then of course I've got the exact same thing building over in on Linux. So this is Linux on Windows. So here I'm doing a build, and there you go. And then over here,
So it does. .NET does work on Linux. I can't believe what I'm seeing.
oh yeah, it's crazy. It's only been years and years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, just happily doing my own thing here. Well, and then yeah, so now we're exporting that image, and then this is going to go and start running these. But I'm in the middle of cleaning up some of this work. Yeah,
That's
these are
so
running.
awesome.
These are headless playwright tests. So it's running like Chromium and Edge, headless, invisible, and then there you go. So there you go. So all my tests pass, and I'm slowly moving it up to .NET. Yeah, I need to check all this in.
That's super awesome. Yeah, it's great to see that you have like you said, you're able to demonstrate that you can do it in these different environments, and it works.
Yeah,
So
man. Yeah. I mean, again, everything I'm selling is free. So I don't care if you use .NET. That just means more .NET for me.
yeah, that's right. Cool, Scott. Thank you so much for the time again. I I wanted to say, I usually say to my guests, like, hey, give me all your links and stuff. But I think anyone who's watching this absolutely knows who you are. But I'll make sure
Yeah.
that I add some links and stuff to the description, and people can go
That's very
click and
kind. What I
follow.
would love is that if folks enjoyed this conversation, of course, continue to support you, but also I would respectfully and gently offer my podcast. I've done almost 960 episodes of my show. I think it's a good show. I wish more people would listen to it, and I wish more people would review it and give me those, stars or whatever. Like share the thing. I think it's quietly taken for granted, and I would very much appreciate folks to check out my podcast.
Absolutely. I'll make sure that I have that linked. I'll put a comment and stuff too,
Thank
and
you.
I'll blast it out. So,
Cool.
Scott, thanks again. I appreciate the time.
Bye.